And here at the Chronicle Book Show in Glens Falls, John Briggs is with us from Scotia. And, I just went to a panel discussion where you were the moderator. Tell us about your books that have to do with history.
Okay, I've written 3 books about history. They're all biographies, and they're all written for young people, pretty much 5th, 6th, 7th grade, somewhere in there. The first one is about Mary Dyer, who was the first woman in America to be executed for her religious beliefs. And her death actually launched the religious tolerance movement in the United States.
Really? Yeah. I mean, what were the circumstances of that? I mean, I know of people who were executed because they were witches. Is that what we're talking about here?
No, although the man who signed her death warrant actually founded the town of Salem, Massachusetts. Now, Mary's crime was being a Quaker, and that was it. It was illegal in Boston at that time to be a Quaker. Mary had been a Puritan. She converted, and because she was a Quaker, they executed her.
So this is a book that you've written, and it's specifically for children, you said?
Yeah. It's the first children's book about her, actually. Right. And she's sort of a forgotten civil rights leader that I thought kids should know about.
And you have a couple of others in your hand. What are a couple of the other titles?
Well, the other one's a name everybody knows. Judy Garland, Little Woman, Big Talent. Okay. But it turns out this is also the first children's book about Judy Garland.
Really?
Believe it or not, there was one joint biography of her and Mickey Rooney, but this is the first children's book about her, and it's really about her struggles in Hollywood. I thought a lot of girls could really identify with how they criticized her for her weight and her looks and her height. And so it was just about her, her unwillingness to give up. So it's a book about perseverance for girls, mostly.
Is this how you make your living?
Actually, I make my living as a book editor, but I've worked in publishing for about 20 years.
Okay. And so you've branched out to write books yourself?
Yes, and I've signed with some other big publishers for children's books. But yeah, this is just a little sideline.
Now, we did this panel discussion on writing about history, and did I maybe misconstrue this, but you actually end up selling a lot of books out of the country?
Yeah, well, the Pete Seeger book I sell a lot out of the country. Mary Dyer sells a lot in England as well. The Judy Garland book mostly sells in the Midwest and the South. Ohio, they love her in Ohio.
Okay. And I didn't ask you about Pete Seeger. You have a children's book about Pete Seeger.
And it's the first children's book about Pete Seeger called Pete Seeger, the People's Singer. And it's really mostly about his civil rights accomplishments, how he taught Martin Luther King the song We Shall Overcome, how he cleaned up the Hudson River, all those things that he did beyond his music.
Well, John Briggs, I thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Bob.
Here's more information on John Briggs, a fascinating man who lives in Scotia. His books for children include Mary Dyer, Friend of Freedom, the first children's book about the Boston martyr who gave her life for her beliefs. Find out how this quiet Quaker woman and strong-willed civil rights leader inspired religious freedom in America. Judy Garland, Little Woman, Big Talent, is the first biography of the legendary performer written specifically for young readers. It follows Judy's life from small-town Minnesota to her rise to fame as Kansas farm girl Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. Pete Seeger, the People's Singer, is the first children's book about the legendary folk singer and civil rights activist. Pete hoped to bring people of all types together through the music he loved. John Briggs' upcoming books include Why It Was the Wild West and Jim Thorpe. And his first picture book is in the offing. It will be called Leaping Lemmings.